In my last video, I introduced character paths in the Stormlight Archive RPG. These kind of define the role of your character and what they're going to be doing during the game, and give you this talent tree of different abilities to explore as you level up. I talked a bit about the 6 different heroic paths you can follow when you start off your character, but I saved the best part for this video, and a part I know you all want to hear more about, which is the Radiant paths. So today we're going to dive in and talk about our 9 Radiant paths and how they work. Before I get into detail on those, I do need to tell you about one other part of the system for context, and that is goals. Goals are an important way to advance your character. Alongside leveling up, where you linearly advance your character in power, improve your statistics, and gain new talents, when you create your character, you're going to be working with the GM to choose and create some goals that align with your story. Then, as you play through the game, ideally you'll be pursuing your goals and checking off progress on them as you make more meaningful steps towards completing them in the story. Once you complete a goal, you'll be able to gain powerful rewards, and completing a goal might not even necessarily look like achieving the thing you originally set out to do. Sometimes achieving a goal might just be realizing that it's not even what your character needed in the first place. But either way, when you complete that goal, you're going to gain different rewards. These kind of depend on the story and what your goal was. For example, if a character was trying to earn a shard blade through dueling, it's likely that the reward is going to be a shard blade. But in some more nebulous cases, a reward might be a new title, a powerful fabrial, a patron, the list goes on. But goals aren't just for these rewards. They're also going to be incredibly important for how you advance as a Radiant and swear new ideals. So let's get into what I know you've all been dying to hear more about and talk about Radiant paths. There are 9 different Radiant paths for you to pursue in the Stormlight Archive RPG. Of the 10 Radiant orders, only Bondsmith isn't available, since there's only 3 of them at any given time. These Radiant paths are going to work just like the heroic paths we talked about last week, with a key talent up at the top that you acquire first, followed by other talents that you can acquire connected to talents that you already own. Today, we're going to be looking more in depth at Dustbringer through the lens of my character Calith. Calith is an Artifabrian and really likes taking things apart and pursuing the power of fabrials. During play, these traits caused him to attract an ash spren, and the GM started giving out hints of this spren hanging around him. As I started interacting with this ash spren, the next time I leveled up, I decided to jump into the Dustbringer path and take the first talent here at the top of the tree. But this isn't always how it needs to work. One thing that was really important to us with how pursuing Radiant paths worked in the game was that it wasn't driven just by the GM, managing 5 different players and 9 different potential Radiant orders for each, but it also wasn't driven just by the player. Instead, we wanted choosing a Radiant path to kind of be a collaborative process. So, as happened with Calith, the GM can start watching your behavior and figuring out which order you might fit in and giving you opportunities to talk with and eventually bond a spren. Or, if you know the setting really well and specifically want your character to pursue a given Radiant order, you can actually jump right in, take the first talent, giving the prompting to the GM that this is a direction you want your story to take. In this way, your character pursuing Radiant ideals is a sort of collaborative process, and either side can lead the way. But taking that first ideal talent doesn't automatically make you a Radiant. This is where those goals from earlier come back in. So when Calith gains the first ideal of the Dustbringers, he does not automatically become a Dustbringer. Instead, he just gains a goal to speak the first ideal. He now has to pursue this goal through play, exemplifying the ideals of the Dustbringers in his actions. As he accomplishes that, he'll get to check off this goal, and once the goal is complete, he'll have the opportunity to finally say the words and come into his power. When exactly he does this is totally up to me. I could speak it as soon as I get it. I could speak the words at a fairly mundane moment like the Lopen, but most players choose to wait and speak the words at a climactic, important moment. Not only is this really cool, but at the moment you speak the words, investiture flows through you and you're coursing with power. You get a special condition that makes you incredibly powerful for a short amount of time. So it's just extra good to do at those climactic moments as well. Once Calith has spoken the words, he gains access to an investiture score, abilities to use that investiture to enhance his speed and strength and recover health, as well as 2 surges, abrasion and division. So let's talk a bit more about those. Surges work a lot like the other skills in the game. When you gain them, you actually record them in your skills area, and they scale off of one of your attributes, and you can put ranks in them just like any other skill. But they have some special capabilities beyond that. My Abrasion Surge, for example, allows me to touch objects and reduce their friction. And if I apply this to myself, I can perform a free move action every round, both in combat and other encounter types. But it also works just like a skill. This enables players to suggest creative uses of their surges and gives the GM guidance on how to adjudicate those creative uses and figure out what they do in play. From there, the surges can also be upgraded with talents that add new special capabilities. So as Kaleth levels up, let's go back to his Dustbringer tree and see, now that he's spoken the first ideal, if he wants to improve one of his surges. So looking at the tree, Division is pretty tempting. This surge allows him to disintegrate things with a touch and can be pretty potent. But the new Fabrials he's been working on need to come into contact with other things to work. And so a little extra movement during combat is going to be really good for him. So I think Kaleth is tempted by this frictionless motion talent here. Not only would I get the extra free action to move every round, but this is going to improve my movement speed and ignored slowed, meaning that I can get my Fabrials exactly where they need to go in combat. So I'm definitely going to pick that. Then as we play more and I level up again, I'm going to have some hard decisions to make. I could finally go into Division like I was tempted to earlier and get some of those potent damage dealing abilities, but I've been eyeing my Radiant Shard Blade, which I get from the third ideal. So I think it's probably time for me to start working on my ideals and deepening my bond with my Spren. So over here in the Ashspren bond tree, I can decide to take the second ideal talent and start pursuing my second ideal. Just like with the first ideal, I record a goal to speak the second ideal and start working towards speaking those words. For each of these ideals, the rulebook gives guidance on what to focus on and what I might need to do to pursue this goal. After I complete the second ideal, I'll gain access to an ability to improve my Stormlight enhancement, and more importantly, next level, I can start pursuing that third ideal. In this way, I can keep growing as a Dustbringer all the way up through the fourth ideal. Now, there is a fifth ideal, but nobody has spoken those words in over 1,000 years, so you're not going to be able to pursue it, at least in this rulebook. Now, I've only just scratched the surface of what's in these Radiant orders and in these surges, so make sure you subscribe down below and go follow our Kickstarter campaign to get all the details as we release them. Thanks, everybody.